What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. We are in the final three teams. We've got the Toronto Raptors up today. This is a team that was previously led by Pascal Siakam. I don't know if you can really say that they're still led by him, but this is a guy that was kind of chosen to take over after Kawhi Leonard decided to leave Toronto after his 1 year run there. But I don't think that he is the guy. I think Toronto figured that out a little bit after I kind of said it to a bunch of the people I'm around. Didn't really think Pascal had that skill set to really be the guy anywhere, or at least be the main guy. He's obviously a talented basketball player, but don't really see him as a superstar. And he's a borderline star player if you ask me, but he's a good defensive player. And he can get his buckets in the paint and a little bit in the mid-range. Once you get out to the three-point range, it's a little bit iffy. I know he's worked on getting that shot more consistent, but it just hasn't really completely followed suit. But Pascal's just not that guy if you ask me. But he is someone that this Toronto team is keeping around. I thought they might try and trade his contract before the deadline last season. Didn't happen. But like I said, he's a talented basketball player. So this is a guy maybe they keep around as a not role player, but a supporting cast player. I guess you could say, for when they do figure out what route they're going to take and who's really going to take the lead of that team. And then another guy that's similar to that is Fred VanVleet. He's not going to be the leader of a championship team if that is where they're trying to get back to, which I would imagine it is, since they're only 2 years removed, or I guess 3 years removed now from that championship with Kawhi. But Fred VanVleet is another very talented basketball player. He can go down and knock down some big shots. He's a very good three-point shooter. He can distribute the ball well. He's not the greatest defender. He's a little small for the point guard position. 6'1", I think, around 180 or so. So he's a little bit smaller than the average NBA point guard is. But Fred VanVleet is a good player. You can keep him around, and you can let him be the point guard, or even bump him back to like a six-man type role when you do try and get back to that championship level. As far as Toronto is concerned. Another guy that had a huge breakout season last year was Chris Boucher. I believe he was putting around 15, 16 points a game. He's a very good player. This Toronto team's just built of all these guys that I see as very good players right now. They're very solid players, but nobody's really that superstar stud right now. That could change with Scotty Barnes. We don't know. We'll see what happens with him once he gets into the regular season here. But Chris Boucher, like I said, was a guy who broke out last year. Very good scorer. Gets his points. He can go out there. He gets his boards. And he's another very good defender. But Chris Boucher, alongside like Pascal and Fred VanVleet in that starting lineup, and some other guys that I'm about to get to, OG Anunoby and Gary Trent Jr. These are all guys that can go out there and put up anywhere from 10 to 20, 25 a game. Fred VanVleet's even gone way over that at times. But these are guys that can go out there and consistently get you about 15 a night. So you put 5 of those guys on the floor together, and you're set with your starting lineup. You got that distributed scoring, and maybe that's just the approach that this Toronto team wants to take. Maybe they don't want that superstar player again right now, unless they naturally find that in their system. But they're probably not going to go out and make a huge trade or anything. Maybe a free agent comes eventually, but I think they saw how the Kawhi Leonard thing went, and yes, he did get them a championship, but they traded away DeMar DeRozan, who had been a lifelong player for the Raptors at that point, or up until that point, however you want to phrase that. But they ship him off. They get Kawhi as basically a 1 year rental, and he's out, which that is the risk you take with a guy on an expiring contract. But They did get the championship, and I think they are super grateful for that. But this is, like I said, this is a team that doesn't have that superstar player, but they do have a lot of these talented guys that can go out there and average between 15 and 20 a night a piece, which is kind of crazy to think about, because if you got 5 guys in your starting lineup averaging between 15 and 20, that's 80 to 100 points just in your starting lineup. That's not even factoring in your bench, which is wild. But OG Anunoby's another guy who took a leap last year. He's a little bit on the younger side, about 23, 24, I think. But he looked super hot this preseason, especially. He looked very good last year. And he's another guy that I'm sure that we see take that next step again, and just continue to develop and become a better and better player the more opportunities that he gets. And then Gary Trent Jr. comes over to this team from Portland last year, where he was swapped with Norman Powell, and Gary Trent Jr. came in and just did his thing. He got free of playing third fiddle, I guess, maybe even lower, but behind Dame and CJ. Now he comes over to Toronto after that trade, and he was just kind of balling out, doing his thing, got his extension there. So obviously Gary Trent Jr. is in their long-term plans after that trade, and we'll see what they do with him. I imagine he's in the starting lineup alongside Fred VanVleet in the backcourt, which is a nasty scoring backcourt if you ask me. That's 2 dudes that can go out there and average almost 20 a game now. They can score on all 3 levels. So future looks good for this Toronto team, especially the near future. And then you've got another guy that comes over via trade. Goran Dragic comes over from Miami with Precious Achiuwa. And Dragic is a guy that I don't know exactly how much run he's going to get with this team, but he can produce decent numbers when he's on the floor. He shoots good percentages. He was a lights-out 3-point shooter in that Miami Heat bubble finals run. And we've seen in his career that he is capable of that. That wasn't just a fluke, although that was a miraculous run where he had national spotlight on him. But Dragic can come in and play some very valuable minutes for this team. But I think more importantly, he brings a very, very good level of leadership to this team, who has a relatively young roster for the most part now. Like I mentioned, OG Gary Trent Jr. is young. You got Scotty Barnes coming in as a draft pick this year. You've got Malachi Flynn, who just had his rookie year. You've got Precious Achiuwa, who comes over with Dragic, who is going to be a second-year player now. So you've just got a lot of youth on this team, and I think having Dragic in that locker room and on that sideline is going to be something huge for this team. And I think the leadership is going to do volumes more than what he can do on the court, just because of the impact that he can have on these guys. And then, like I said, Achiuwa comes over with them from Miami. Achiuwa, very good power forward player. Slightly undersized, but he's got that thick frame. But he can go get his points in the paint. He can go snatch his rebounds. He's a very good defender, and he just plays high energy, high motor, and he's gonna be good. The more minutes that he gets, the better for this team, I believe, and the more he's gonna produce, because I don't think he's really gonna plateau with more minutes. I think he's just one of those guys that's really just gonna continue to produce with those extra opportunities. And then Malachi Flynn, another second-year player like Precious, comes in and is looking just to build on his season last year. He had a solid season. I think he was putting up about 7.5 points. So he just looks to continue to get better. If you go back to the card opening video I had early on this channel, we pulled a Malachi Flynn little swatch card with some like basketball and like player worn jersey stuff on it. So we're rooting for Malachi Flynn. Gonna become I guess one of the first like loved players on this channel. I don't know, maybe. But if you follow along, I'm sure there's gonna be more Malachi Flynn content. He's a young guy who's got a lot of promise, and I think Toronto fans already love him. He's got a solid play style, and he's one of those guys that he's got the opportunity and he's got the room to develop in Toronto. So we'll just have to see what he does with it. And then Scotty Barnes is the last player that I want to talk about here. The ceiling is so incredibly high for this dude. I think a lot of people question him being picked at number 4, including myself. But the way that he has played in preseason and the way that he has played in Summer League has been absolutely insane. So he just looks to carry that over. He's another high energy, high motor guy, like I said with Precious Achiuwa. But Scotty Barnes is just an absolute dog. He's going to go out there and he's going to do everything that he can to win. He's not going to be trying to pad his personal numbers. He's going to be going out there to win basketball games. And I think he fits perfectly in with this Toronto franchise, not just this roster, but this Toronto franchise. So definitely think Scotty Barnes is a player that's going to be loved very quickly. If he's not already, I'm sure he is by Toronto fans just from what they've seen early on. But this is a guy that I'm not going to be surprised within the next 5 years if we're watching him in the All-Star games and seeing him potentially make some All-NBA teams, because this dude, like I said, like the ceiling is just so incredibly high for him. He's just a super athletic dude. He's got that motor that's just going to keep him going. And when other players are getting tired, Scotty Barnes is just getting started. He's a raw offensive player, super good defensive player already. And I don't remember who it was, but someone on the Wizards was already giving him his props. I want to say it was Kyle Kuzma, but just talking about how good of a player Scotty Barnes is. So he's already getting the recognition from these NBA players. And that's just in preseason. So once this season gets started, Scotty Barnes is going to be unleashed and we're going to see what he can really be. My season predictions for this team: last year they were a 27-win team in a shortened season. I don't see them taking too much of a step up because, again, they don't really have that star stud player, but they've just got a lot of solid players on this roster. I see them potentially finishing around 35 wins and missing the play-in tournament, but I don't think this is a team that anyone can sleep on. I would not be surprised if they end up a middle seed in the Eastern Conference, but I personally, gut feeling, I feel like they're about, like I said, a 35-win team, miss that play-in tournament. But again, don't sleep on them. Don't be surprised if they end up blowing expectations out of the water. So next video is going to be the Utah Jazz. That'll be the second to last video of this series. We got them and the Wizards left. But thank you for tuning into this one. Make sure you leave a like, comment your thoughts on this team and on this roster, and subscribe if you're new, and I'll catch you on the next video. Peace out.